Oh, wow. Okay, so looks like YouTube won this time for the I mean, to be fair, though, I didn't press the buttons at the same time. Once again, for those of you just tuning in, I'm simulcasting between Twitch and YouTube. So, but I'm not using any special stream software. I'm just pressing buttons. I have a very wacky setup, and that's also because Twitch is funny, but YouTube is worse. I don't know, but that's okay. So, also for you, those of you just tuning in, my name is Beth Wagner, and I am currently reading my dad's manuscripts, one chapter at a time. Also, while I'm doing it, I am editing, although I'm not editing much if I can't find the pen. I had a pen, it is gone now, and that is what you needed to see. You can expect more quality and professional, professional stuff that goes on during the live stream, such as that. The quest for the pen. Anyway, for those of you who are new to the channel, and it's your first ever show you're watching, it's not going to get much better. Also, you really, really, really should go back because we're almost a third of the way through, and I'm reading a story right now. So if you start right now, yeah, you'll probably get the idea of it, but there's a lot of stuff that you're missing out on. So I recommend going back to the beginning of the Saga of Haram and watching it from the beginning through. I'm not really sure how it's working. I'm gonna have to double check some stuff because I have to go into the Twitch stream to look at past broadcasts because it looks like there were some like hiccups here and there. So I'm gonna quickly double check that and see what's what. But you should be seeing all 9 things in the stream, but it's looking kind of weird on the phone, so I'm not sure. Um, in the meantime, I am going to start reading. Currently on chapter 9 of 32. So, like that's why I said if you are just starting to read now, or if you're starting to listen now, I guess it's kind of a form of reading. Then you might want to go back to the beginning so you can watch/listen to the beginning of the story. Without further ado, chapter 9, the Sagam of Hera. Wait, nope. Uh-huh. Did I mention a consummate professional? Yeah, consummate professional right here. Okay. When we left off, the Harem and his party had just finished rescuing a woman that had been kidnapped and taken across to a barbarian border. Well, Shandakarian border. Anyway, so they'd separated, and Harem and the prince and the lady, I want to say princess, not princess. They've set up camp and they're waiting for the rest to join them. In the meantime, while they're waiting, they get approached by a man in a brown robe. And that's all we know. That's where they left off last time. So, here we go. The old man appeared to be alone and weaponless. There was a twinkle in his eye and a bit of laughter in his voice when he said, "Peace, put up your sword. I am no foe you need fear." Hiram looked beyond him to be sure he had no confederates hidden in the wood. "Welcome to our camp, then. We have food to spare, if you wish to join us." The old man smiled. "Thank you for the offer, but no, I have no need of food at the moment. I will sit with you a while, though, if you have no objection." Hiram, extremely conscious of the trust which the band had placed in him, thought for a moment to refuse, but in the same moment he saw that Tariel would see his fear of an old bearded man. "Certainly not," he said. "Sit down and be comfortable. If you will not eat, may I offer you a drink? Ale is not of the best, but I'm told it's the best Shabnazdig has to offer." The old man took a mug of ale, nodding his thanks. "Shabnazdig, is it?" He looked at each of them in a way that almost made Harry regret his invitation. "And how are things in Shabnazdig these days?" Shrugged. Harem shrugged. Much as usual, I expect. It's not my city, so I could not say whether its present condition is normal or not." And the old man chuckled. "And could I be mistaking you for a Shondakarian with hair like that and an accent such as you have?" "Oh no, not at all." He chuckled a little more. I trust I trust your venture into Shabnazdig was successful?" Harem stiffened and almost reached for his sword. It sounded as though the old man knew who he was and what he had done. But he had been with the band long enough to be careful of his conversation, even if he had not full control of his reactions. Well enough," he said, shrugging. "I may not be rich, but neither will I starve this week." The old man's eyes were glimmering with amusement. "Oh no, I ask no trade secrets, for you bear the look of a venturer. I only make conversation. And if Shabnazdik is not a safe subject for conversation, what else we to talk?" Well, this will be fun because I can't find my pen, which is here. I just not able to find. There we go. Pen. I'm also going to be marking up edits, so just bear with me here while I take a quick moment. And if Shabnazdig is not a safe subject for conversation, what else are we? What else ought we are? What else are we to talk of? Harem grinned. "We might discuss the weather. It is fine for this time of year, is it not? Good for all growing things." Also, now I have a cat on my lap, so just bear with me here. The comment did not seem worthy of the great burst of laughter it brought from the old man. "Very fine, yet it is subject to sudden changes, you know. My name is Korenis. What may I call you?" "I am Haram, and this is Teriel." Even as he spoke, he realized he was probably giving away information which Orts would prefer him not to spread around. On the other hand, he reminded himself, their names would not be important unless the other three had already been taken and confessed to what they had done. Even then, it was unlikely that the troops of the Harnasp would be pursuing them before morning, and he and Teriel would be across the border before they could be overtaken. But when he saw Teriel's look of disgust from across the fire, he was less certain of himself. Where was aught unusual? Was there aught unusual happening in Shabnazdik? Inquired Corinus. For a moment, Harem was a little alarmed, certain that the old man was trying to pry slyly, slyly into what they'd been doing. Being careful to keep his voice as normal as possible, he answered, I have lived my life so far in Aradar. This is my first trip into Shandakar. Everything seemed unusual. The old man seemed to accept the answer, though he smiled a bit. Then his expression grew more grave. There are things, which even the best sword may not stop. Unaccountably, Harem was reminded of the strange feeling Shagahan had gotten when he traced down Teriel's place in the tower. But he smiled and said, I hope to stay well out of such things. Very wise. And if you accidentally put yourself in the way of one of them, what would you do? Harem was beginning to enjoy this banter. Why, the best I could, I suppose. Is that not all a man can do? Kuranis looked grave. It is. Would you take some advice, young Harem? There was something about the question which prevented Harem from giving a flippant answer. He frowned and considered. One who never takes advice can run into needless dangers, but one who listens to all advice never thinks for himself. I suppose it would depend on the advice. The old man nodded. Walk warily. There are strange things abroad, dreadful things waking. Go back into Aradar, and do not come near Shandakar again for a long while. Harem frowned. Is this a threat? No threat, young man. Only a foretelling. You have stepped into something, albeit unawares, which is much greater than you. Across the fire, Teriel was staring at Kuranis as though she'd found his veiled references entirely too clear. Harem felt himself sweating. Are we in immediate danger? Kuranis shook his head. I cannot foretell so accurately as that. There is great danger, though, and it would be best if you were to flee immediately. Harem frowned. I cannot. My companions expect to meet me here, or near here, perhaps when they come. Then let us hope they come soon. For a long while they sat in silence. Then Teriel slid over toward Harem. Let's do as he says, she muttered. Let us pack up and flee. We can be over the border within a few hours. He shook his head stubbornly. The two of you keep hinting of great fear and dread on our track, but you won't be so specific. Tell me who follows us, aside from the Harnasp, and perhaps I'll consider moving. Are you a fool? Do you think he won't hear if his name is called? Do you think that mere distance matters to him? If he knows my whereabouts, he will come for me. Harem looked up at that. Will he indeed? And if mere distance is so little to this mysterious creature, what good to flee? He will certainly find us wherever we might go, so why go anywhere? She looked at him. She gave him a look of disgust, then moved back to her place and sat staring into the fire with the expression of one who has lost all hope. There was a long time of silence, broken only by the sounds of the fire and the sounds of the horses. Archwelt neighed and stamped nervously, and Harem got up and went to him. Something was clearly upsetting him, and Harem patted his muzzle, looking at the jagged white blaze on the background, the blaze which intrigued him by its irregular shape, almost a bolt of white lightning. Well, that makes three of you who seem to expect something terrible to happen. And maybe I'm a fool for not moving, but I'll wait here for Oritz and the rest. But he did not say so to the others. A long while later, the sound of trotting hooves brought Harem up suddenly out of a light doze, clutching at his sword. 3 riders rode into the light of the fire, and he saw with relief that it was his companions. Astran's eyes widened as her eyes fell on Kuranis, and she leapt down from her horse to stand before him almost like a supplement before a high priest. A good evening to you, sir. I regret the trespass on your land. Has the boy offended you? If so, he shall surely be punished." A gleam of amusement came over Corinus's eyes. "No, he has been very polite, even when pressed, and the first thing he did was to offer me food and drink. And he has never hinted at causing destruction to my grove, though I doubt he knew it was mine. Do I take it you are the companions he has been waiting for?" Harum was suddenly aware that Corinus must be a druid, and was ashamed that he had not deduced as much from the evidence, from all the evidence. "Is there aught we can offer you, Lord, besides hospitality?" The old man shook his head. "Nothing now. It is too late." Her face fell, but the druid laughed. "No, no, you need not fear me. You ought to fear rather the confrontation which comes. I had hoped it would not, but I feel it approaching." Sagahan broke in then. "You feel it yourself? Since I saw the young lady, I've felt something slightly wrong. The wrongness has been increasing throughout the day, and I still cannot guess what it is. Nor will I tell you, lest talking about it should bring it more quickly. My power is not without limit, but I will try to give you what protection I can." "Ought we to flee this place?" asked Orist. "The time for flight is long past," answered the druid. "Even the fastest could not outrun what comes now." He walked away from the fire, then began to step a careful circle around them all, including the horses. 3 times he walked the circle, speaking no word, but Sagahan went suddenly pale. "I hope he means us no ill, for his power is well beyond my own." Corinus walked back to the fire again and looked at them. "I have done what I can. Now we must wait and see." As though those words were a summoning, there was a sudden humming in the air and a feeling of oppressive heat. A pinpoint of light showed before them, a point which gradually grew into a ball of roiling, sulphurous light. Suddenly, the light turned into a man-like figure, which towered above them. It was broad and heavy-looking, with muscles rippling in its arms, and it wore no clothing, save for a short kilt. The face was large and round and bald, and sharply pointed ears and carnivorous teeth showed when it smiled. Orts muttered something that sounded to Harum like "Drah." "Give me the girl," the flaming being hissed. "She is mine." Harum found himself thinking that they should indeed give up the girl, and was immediately ashamed of himself. Not that his thoughts or feelings mattered, for Corinna spoke. "She is not yours to have." Fierce eyes turned on the old man. "You would rob me of what is mine, druid?" "She is not yours, else you would not be here trying to take her from us." "You play with words, druid. She is mine. She was promised to me, and I will have her." "No." "You think this circle will protect you? Fool! I can crack it like a walnut if I wish." Corinus merely shrugged. The glowing being raised its hands above its head and brought them down swiftly. Orange flames leaped and crackled around the circle, and despite its protection, the 5 inside felt uncomfortably warm. The horses neighed in fear, rearing, and Corinus shouted, "Control the animals! Do not let them run loose!" Harum and Orts leapt for the halter ropes and managed to calm the horses somewhat. The flames died around the circle, but the flaming being was still there. "Will you give her to me?" "Never." "Old tree-loving fool, you cannot keep her from me forever." "Perhaps not, but I can try." "Take this, then!" He raised his hands again and brought them down sharply. Lightning flashed and crashed around them, striking the circle and rebounding. Once again, Harum and Orts had to hold the horses to keep them from bolting. The lightning died away, and the fiery entity stood glaring at them. "I will have her yet, and you shall all suffer," he shouted. Corinus made no answer. Um, yeah. So, uh, I guess that's the end of this chapter. Da, da, da! Yeah. So, what's gonna happen next? I'm imagining it's gonna be a battle. Beyond that, we're just gonna all have to find out next week because it's the weekend. So, I will talk to you guys all on Monday when I'll be back with another chapter from the Saga of Haram. So, thank you all for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and also just leave some comments if you're able to. I'm trying to remember. I don't think you can on Twitch, but you can on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I'll talk to you all again on Monday. Have a good night.